GTA Online just turned 9 years old over the weekend, and if that intro cinematic hit you right in the feels, then we're in the same boat, because over the weekend it really got me thinking about the history of GTA Online and just my life in general back in 2013 when I did start playing it for the first time. That, along with a video I saw by my friend GTA a couple days ago, inspired me to make this video. So today I want to discuss why I think the current GTA Online is the last game of its kind. And when I say of its kind, I don't necessarily mean the open world action game genre. That's not going anywhere, and in fact Rockstar will still continue to make games of that kind. I mean more so in terms of the setup and monetization models of the game. Thinking all the way back to 2013, the games industry was in a completely different state than it is now. Back in 2013, games would come out and cost $60, which I guess hasn't really changed that much. But they'd also have like a season pass that you could buy for another $50 to get all the DLC that would come out after that. Or expansions that costed $15 to $20 a pop. I think most of us can remember this was the exact same model that Call of Duty used each year with their map packs. You'd buy a map pack for $15 and you get 4 maps with it. Before GTA Online, I was mainly playing Black Ops 2, and as a 15-year-old back then with basically no money to my name, one premise really stood out to me with GTA Online, and that was that all DLC added to the game going forward was going to be free, in the sense that it will not require a direct payment of real-life currency to access the content. If you could make the money in-game, you could buy everything they released in the DLCs with in-game currency. Essentially, time in the game was the payment, or you could just buy shark cards to speed up the process. You can imagine, as a 15-year-old with not a lot of money, this made me pretty excited. And this aspect of GTA Online was very new to the gaming industry at the time, so much so that I believe GTA Online was the only game practicing that DLC model, or at least from what I can remember. If there were other games out there at the time with that model, there definitely weren't many. And I can specifically recall myself saying multiple times during my time playing GTA Online back then that free DLC is going to be the way forward, that other companies are eventually going to replicate this whole live service model. Of course, at the time, it wasn't really called a live service. No one really called it that back then. And sure enough, years later, you see many games implementing the same model of free DLC or offering a game as a service, with some being more successful than others. To me, what GTA Online did with the live service is what Fortnite did with the Battle Pass. And that is inspire other companies to follow suit, because after Fortnite, you also saw other companies putting battle passes in their games. And through the 9 years that GTA Online has been available, you saw a major shift from paid expansions in games to a handful of live service games offering free DLC and battle passes along the way. Now you might be asking, how exactly is GTA Online the last game of its kind then in terms of monetization, if every other company out there is now doing the free DLC model that GTA is trying to do? In my opinion, GTA Online is both the first of its kind and the last of its kind. It was one of the very early adopters of the free DLC model where everything could be bought entirely with in-game money. Didn't matter what it was. You could play the game, earn money, and buy everything in the DLC with that money. Now one could argue that it would take an enormous amount of time to do that, but the point still stands that it is possible. And the reason I believe it's also the last of its kind is that GTA Online is the only game where I can think of that lets you buy everything in their DLCs entirely with in-game money. GTA's monetization model hasn't really changed all that much in the 9 years it's been out, aside from one major thing which we'll be talking about. Sure, in-game prices have gone up while shark card prices have remained the same, essentially replicating inflation from the real world, but we also have many more ways to make money at the same time than we had back in the day. It's just the fact that nowadays in GTA Online you can earn way more money per hour than you could 5 years ago. Not talking about glitches, of course. You can still very easily make money just doing one Kaya Perico a week, let's just say, and have enough for the next DLC. Other games offer free DLC while at the same time charging you $20 for a cosmetic skin for your player, a third of the price of the entire game just for one skin, and you can't earn that skin any other way aside paying for it. Or you have battle passes that have premium items that are locked away until you pay for the battle pass. GTA Online, on the other hand, still remains roughly the same, where every time a DLC comes out, all you need is one type of currency, and that is the in-game cash. And you can buy every single item in that DLC with that cash. There are no premium currencies, no battle passes, none of that. You could argue that those skins are also completely optional in those other games, and you don't have to buy them, but at the same time, GTA Online cars and the clothing in that game are also completely optional. You don't necessarily need to own every car in a DLC, but you can still buy them with in-game cash that you earn while playing. And the sad part is, even that luxury that we've had all this time, I feel is starting to change. With the introduction of GTA Plus, even though it is only a few items each month, you now can't own everything in the game entirely with in-game cash. Some of it is now locked behind an actual paywall, and although right now it's just a very small portion of the content behind it and the paywall is not too outrageous, who knows where they will take this in the future. Even Rockstar's next game after GTA Online had a more intense focus on monetization in the online mode. Red Dead Online offered a premium currency that you could still earn in-game, albeit at a much slower rate than cash, and offered in-game items that could only be bought with that premium currency. The Outlaw Pass could only be bought with that premium currency of gold bars. The new DLC roles could only be bought with the gold bars. And in the ending stages of Red Dead Online, you saw Rockstar take steps to heavily nerf gold bar earnings through the daily objectives. For those of you who don't know, daily objectives and the lack of any substantial items to buy were the reasons why so many people had a lot of gold bars saved up over time. And they hit those daily objectives pretty hard with a nerf. And coincidentally, I think in the next update later that summer, they went and charged 52 gold bars for an outfit. One single outfit that was part of the Outlaw Pass a while ago, they're charging 52 gold bars for it. Sounds very similar to charging 20 bucks for a skin in another game, doesn't it? GTA Online is a special case. I don't think Rockstar ever really imagined it to take off the way it did, so much so that they repurposed their planned single-player DLC into online content because it was so popular. And in return, I don't think they had a very long-term plan for different monetization techniques at the time, so they just resorted to raising prices because that was the easiest thing to do. All you had to do was change numbers. Given that we are now 2 or so years away from GTA 6 and the next iteration of GTA Online, they are going into this next game knowing that GTA Online is a massive success, and they likely have planned many different ways to monetize the game. In fact, it was even Strauss Zelnick, the CEO of Take-Two Interactive, the company who publishes GTA, who said back in 2017 that they are under-monetizing their games. And with GTA Plus now being a thing, I can only imagine what we have in store for the future. GTA Online is by no means a perfect game. It has plenty of issues that you guys have heard me complain about many times, but one thing that I feel is taken for granted is just how good we have had it with GTA Online over the years in terms of its monetization. There's a lot of people out there that say GTA Online's monetization is very egregious, but goddamn, I can imagine so many things that would be much worse. I think it's truly going to go down as a one-of-a-kind, a game that 15-year-old me fell in love with, and a game that I still love as a 24-year-old. While I am excited for GTA 6 and the next iteration of the multiplayer, I don't know if we'll ever see an era like the current GTA Online ever again, and that does worry me. Maybe in a couple years from now, I'll come back to this video after knowing more about GTA 6 and the multiplayer, and I can laugh about being completely way off, or I can sit there and begrudgingly say, I knew it. Nostalgia can be a powerful feeling, and perhaps this is just my nostalgia talking, or maybe it's more of a realization of where the gaming industry is going and that eventually it's going to affect one of the franchises that I'm most passionate about, whether I like it or not. If you made it all the way until the end of this video, I want to say thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.